Hey everybody, I'm going to record this demonstration of sort of like transformation best practices, or just kind of showing you like how you could do transformations in Dremio. So again, generally the logic here is that you want to connect your raw data sources or land your tables in Iceberg in Dremio's catalog, and then build views for the rest of your logic from there. So this is the sample SQL script, and then I'll show you the results. But basically here I'm just kind of creating the where I want to do all this work in my Dremio catalog. So I created like a clinic data folder with a raw silver gold subfolder from there. Now essentially the idea here is we're gonna have a couple raw tables. So we're creating our first raw table, which is our encounters data. Okay. Then we kind of see that with some data. Now this data purposely has some mistakes, some duplicates, stuff that needs to be cleaned up. Okay, so that's our encounters table. So like raw patient encounters table. Then we're going to have our raw lab results. So this is labs that these patients have had. And we're going to create the table, inject some raw data in there. Okay, so this is just setting up our raw layer. But really what you want to do is you want to take that raw data and you want to, well, turn it into something that's usable by the business. That's the whole concept of a semantic layer. The idea is, while again, as I've mentioned in the past, there's sort of the semantic layer, the product, which is, again, in the case of Dremio, the semantic layer product is sort of the ability to create views on your data along with the wikis and the lineage tracking. But then there's like what the sort of outcome of a semantic layer is creating a version of your data that's just sort of understandable and usable by your business level users. And again, if it's something that your business level users can understand, because it's using common business terms, it's applying common business logic, then it's going to be things that your AI is going to be able to take advantage of because it'll be able to understand the context. So anything that is going to make the data more usable by a human is going to make the data also 10 times more usable for an AI agent. Okay, so the value of semantics. Okay, so in our silver layer, one of the things I advocate for, or again, best practices for transformations, is doing it piece by piece. Don't put all your transformation logic sort of in one step, because you may have, then what happens is that you can't reuse that logic. So you end up having to do the same transformations again in other sort of chains of views, or even chains of transformations. So in this case, what we did was we split up all the sort of the cleanup and essentially silver layer transformation work into sort of three categories. First, we're going to clean the data. So here we're creating a view that cleans the data, looks for duplicates and such. Okay, so we're looking for duplicates and then cleaning out any nulls. So we have a view that just does that piece, the cleanup. Now after we do the cleanup, again, we clean both data sets. Then we're doing a view that filters any unnecessary data. Okay, because at the end of the day, before you actually join any data sets, you want to just get rid of any records that you just may not need at all for the join. So that way the join's going to be more performant. So in this case, this view is filtering any additional records we may not need. Okay, and that's going to be, again, here's where we're starting to see sort of the first initial little pieces of business logic kind of sprinkle in there. Okay, so again, while usually you would want to do the joins before you inject business logic, there are going to be certain times where business logic may make sense to inject earlier. And that's why it was good that we separated the filter step, the cleanup step, from this step. Because we want the steps that are not business logic to be their own steps. We don't want to mix any business logic and non-business logic transformations in the same step, because there might be other parts of the company that might have to transform the data differently, and then they can take advantage of that cleanup step and build from there instead of having to rebuild that cleanup step. Okay, but so we go, we inject our sort of filter logic here, we filter both data sets, and now we can join the two tables. So then we create our last piece of our silver layer where we join the data sets, and we're good. So we have our last view there. So now we can move on to our gold layer where we're going to actually create the views that are going to power BI dashboards, reports, agentic workflows. Okay, and we have different ones that we show up here. So we're going to have this HbA1c. So here we're taking it's a clinical quality metric for diabetic encounters. So we're going to take a look at the details from that test. So we construct that view. We have our ALOS by department. Again, an operational metric for hospital clinic capacity planning. That's going to be its own view in that gold layer. So again, we're just separating out the different metrics that we need that are going to be, and so that way that logic is only defined once between departments. Okay, payer mix summary. So here we're just looking at like reimbursements and revenue, and then we separate that out. Okay, I've already ran this SQL, so when we take a look at it in Dremio, so you see here I have my Dremio namespace. Within there I have my clinic data namespace organized into raw, silver, gold. And then again, I can see here's like my those gold sets. Again, you can see they're green, so that's going to means that they're a view, not a physical copy of the table. So I've not duplicated my data at all. Only copy of the data is that raw copy. And the cool thing about this is that now I've not duplicated my data. Now for other users who may only need this gold layer, I will create them an account and only give them access to these gold data sets. So even though they're still technically, fundamentally, Dremio is going to still query that raw layer, they don't have direct access to it. They only have direct access to whatever these views give them access to. Okay, and I'll just go run a query. So that makes life a lot easier. And then we can see like, hey, look, here's the data. Okay, now on top of that, so again, that allows you to govern it. That's another piece of of Dremio's semantic layers that allows you to govern these semantic definitions and say who has access to them. Okay, but then again, you can also take a look at things like lineage. So when I take a look at lineage for this particular view here, I can see exactly what we were talking about in action. How we had the two raw tables, and then again, little by little, we cleaned them up, we filtered them, then we joined them, and then we created the metric. Okay, now if I'm somebody who wants to then derive some other metric, I can take a look at this lineage chart and see, hey, where would be the best place for me to start? So maybe I don't need the same filtering, there's like little splash of business logic we had in the filter step, so I might then go look for that clean view and then build off of that. Okay, also just lets me understand sort of how this evolved. I can click on any of these to kind of take a quick look at what that data sets. So now I can see what this particular view's columns were, so I can kind of get an idea of which columns transferred over at what level. Okay, but again, I get this nice reflection. And again, this lineage not only makes it easier for me to audit the data and see my transformations, and again, it's much easier for me to understand the transformations in this step, where basically there's clear steps in the way my views are organized. So I can actually, like, just in the naming of it, I can kind of see what happened. You know, we had the data, we cleaned the data, we filtered the data, we joined the data, and then we produce our metrics. Okay, so again, nice and clear, easy to understand, but then all of this data, this lineage data, the schema data, the any wiki data, that right now I can actually use the AI feature to generate a wiki if I want. Okay, so here I'm going to generate a wiki on the join, so it's going to generate that in just a moment. But I can do all that, and all that's going to get pulled into context when I'm using the Dremio MCP server or the Dremio AI agent to give you better AI results more of the time. Okay, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that demo. I'll see you all later. Have a great day and enjoy.